Global.
Are live.
We have 8:15. We'll call the monthly meeting to order. Roll call. All members are present except Tim. Tim will be coming in a couple minutes late. We'll move on to approval and repair of today's agenda. If everybody had a chance to look at the agenda. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll need a motion.
I'll second that for the agenda.
Motion by Tim, second by Nick. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval and repair of last month's minutes. Everybody had a chance to take a look at those. Unless there's some additions or corrections. Tim,
I'll second.
second by Derek. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Hearing none, we'll move on to department reports. So we'll turn it over to Vivi.
Okay. So I started doing some of the year end. The only thing I don't have is the septic, so I'll get that for you guys in February. For animal waste storage permits, we had 10 permits in 2024. That was about $5,000 that we brought in revenue. Farmland preservation walkovers. So there was 126 walkovers that were completed. And that was approximately 19,000 acres. So again, we walk over once every 4 years to stay in compliance with farmland preservation. 95 of them were in full compliance. 31 are in compliance schedules. They can still claim the credit under a compliance schedule. We just work with them. So the main reasons for compliance schedules are tillage setbacks, so the 5 feet from surface water. That's probably the biggest issue. Some erosion that we're working with. We use some of our swarm dollars for waterways, so those will hopefully all go in this spring. Unless it's super wet, then we will push it for the summer. There's a couple older manure storages that we're trying to get abandoned, and some maintenance that needs to be done. We're having some woody vegetation starting to grow in the berm, so some of the older ones. Manure storage abandonments, those are ones that have not been used in the last 24 months. The really old ones, we're working on getting cost sharing for those, and we have quite a bit that would like to get that done. And those pits, when talking to NRCS and DNR, would have no possibility of being upgraded for like a CAFO use because they're so old, they would have to be completely torn down and rebuilt anyways. So we did look into that because there's a couple pits that would meet that, and they are being kept open for those emergency purposes. Go ahead.
Question to be on those couple pits that are kept open. You're saying they're kept open for emergency purposes. Are those in a CAFO's plan already, or during an emergency purpose? Could any farm call the county, say, "Hey, we need to go somewhere with"?
Small farms could.
Small farm.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
it's
the
not-
CAFOs couldn't because they're not built under the CAFO standard. So CAFOs would have to help each other with CAFO to
Sure.
CAFO, but small farms, these are pits that we could use for small farms.
On those couple pits, do they have to be used every certain duration then?
No, because they were built to the standard. So a lot of the ones that we're trying to get abandoned were built prior to our permitting. from the sixties and seventies, early eighties. I think we started permitting pits, I think in 99. The ones prior to that really didn't have any standard that it was built to or permitting process. So those are the ones that we were trying to get abandoned. Nutrient management farmer education, Travis will be holding his classes February 17th, 18th, and 19th here from 10 to 2. So we have nutrient management. We have, oh gosh, probably 30 to 40, maybe even more participants this year. It'll probably be one of our highest years, as we're still taking those in from NWTC with the passing of quotes. So sign up is required and we'll be starting those. Those are all reimbursed through DADCAP grants and really great class to write your own NMPs. So a lot of the smaller farms are turning over and writing their own plans. That is farmland preservation. Public health and groundwater protection ordinance. We're currently in no spreading until April 15th on less than 20 feet of soil. And like I said, the sanitary report, I'm working on tallying all that. So I'll have the 2024 numbers in February. And then well testing, we have our date for October 2025. We're just doing one date this year. So I'm going to work, I think EPA is going to fund again the nitrates. That worked really well. And then hopefully we can continue to raise some funds. I think we have a balance of a little somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 in our donation. Our donation line item, I think budget. And that is a revolving, so we do not lose that balance at the end of the year that is transferred over. So I'll be working on that pretty soon. Get that one.
Been any conversations with the EPA on the last round of well tests? What their thoughts were with the nitrate levels in Kewaunee County, where we stand? Have you had just any conversation with them?
I haven't. So I got everything back from the lab and I'm working on putting that with the Stevens Point stuff. So I don't even know if the higher ups even have all of that information because they don't really know what it all means to interpret it. So I'm working on the interpretations and send the same information that I gave you guys. That's all I have right now. Oh, and this is Samantha. So this is our new Sam, our new employee. She started with January 2nd. So we're working on getting her into the office. She'll be learning technical stuff. She's doing non-metallic mining stuff right now, helping with septic right now. Pretty much anything we can do to keep her busy.
Samantha, would you just want to give us a little background where you went to school?
Sure. I went to Stevens Point, graduated in 23 with a major in resource management, specifically planning. I'm originally from the other side of the state, so been a nice little bit of a change of pace living on this side and then getting to be able to see the lake and everything a lot more. So yeah, I'm really liking it here. Everything's really nice, and I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone more as I attend more meetings.
Thank you.
She was an intern for Brown County.
Yes.
So that's where like she kind of hopped around Brown County and knew a little of a lot. So that was one of the main things that we really liked about that. Steal from us, still. Oh, good.
Any other questions for the done? If not, we'll move on to cooperative. Anybody here from the NRCS? I'll reach out to Barry again and see if he can come in. Yeah, I'll reach out to Barry and see if he can get in here, or Jason. Jason, I believe, has his monthly meetings. We have ours the second Tuesday, but see if we can get one of them to show up here and at least give it a quarterly update. Do you have Erica's?
I do have Erica's. So she just wanted me to mention the upcoming extension meetings, so CAFO meetings. January 28th, Green Bay Tundra Lodge. Both Sam and I will be attending that one. Pretty much bringing Sam to any meeting that we possibly can just to get information. So the 28th in Green Bay, 29th in Fond du Lac, 30th in Manitowoc. You do have to register, and you can just go to their extension and go CAFO 2025 to register. And then the Midwest Manure Summit is February 26th at Lambeau. If you just Google Midwest Summit at Lambeau, and the early registration price break is until February 1st. So those are the meetings that Erica wanted me to say. And then wildlife damage, nothing for this month, but you will be bringing the 2024 claims to February's meeting.
Okay. State legislators here, other agencies or organization reports that are, is there anything here from FSA?
Nothing new.
That will move on to the updated draft shoreline zoning ordinance. Discussing that, possible action on that today. I know when we left last month's meeting, we're having discussion about some of the terms and definitions of what they meant. Corp Council passed out this morning that sheet that you have for self-storage, self-service storage facilities. He has a term down there. And then Wisconsin statutes 704.90. So if you have take a chance to read that, we'll hand it out this morning, and we can possibly discuss that and anything else in those special exceptions. To see if we can get this cleaned up and on back to the DNR for their approval. DNR approved it already. It's part of approval.
Yep, I have an email that says, yes, I have preliminary DNR approval on the rest of the language. So everything else is up to them. As soon as this is done, they will do a quick look over it before it would go public notice or conflict.
Dave, I think you have a definition. We talked a little bit this morning on private clubs. If you want, when the committee is ready, if you want to read that to us, what that entails.
Yeah, so since it was undefined previously, I looked for a statutory definition default to this one. 101.123 sub 1 sub BM reads that private club means any facility used by an organization that limits its membership and is organized for recreation, fraternal, social, patriotic, political, benevolent, athletic purpose. That's the statutory definition of that chapter of Wisconsin statute.
Yeah, we just started discussing the item number 8 on the agenda on ordinance.
Okay.
There's a draft there that Corp Council helped us define number 8 self-service storage facilities. So we just, and then he read the definition of private clubs of what those mean. So we just started discussing that. So we're walking in. So,
Okay.
And I believe on number 7 with the multifamily housing, because that was not petition exact words, the exact words are duplexes. That is why you put in duplexes.
Yeah, so I know that DNR mentioned that multifamily would be more encompassing or would allow for more different types of structures, but the requester is not asking for it. And I don't know that the committee today wants to, or the board is going to have an appetite to open it up to row houses or condominiums or multiplexes. So since the request is for duplexes, I would just address the request and something larger later comes up. Take up that issue up, get more broadly the request.
And Dave and I can't strike things because that is the board's authority.
On the other private clubs with the definition, does that leave some things open that we should amend number 1 on private clubs to reference that definition?
So what we could do is something similar to what's on the page there for storage facilities. Either reference the statute or come up with some variation that we want. So the definition that I have there is a little bit different than what the statutory reference is. But it's kind of more encompassing for facilities and units and what their purpose is. So it's kind of a variation of the statutory definition for rental facilities would be. So we can do that. You can find it however you want. Decide that you don't want it to be for a patriotic purpose or that, although I probably say that that's not the one you want to get rid of.
We could strike it all together.
You could, yep. I think that having to base this off, but I would guess that the purposes that are stated here are what the intent was to include, right? So social gatherings, athletic purposes, we talked about the Door County that has 4-H club or something like that. So allowing things like that to continue to be placed on our property there. So the definition, something like this would clarify that.
So put the whole definition there or just,
We can either-
refer to section 101.20.
Yeah, you can either just state the definition so people don't have to go hunting for the meaning, or you can reference the statute. Unless you're looking to limit it beyond what's here. So, strike anything that's there.
Maybe just go line by line then.
Yeah, could you go through the first line? Yeah, I think that would be the best thing. Just read it through the first line. See what, and then we'll go through each line and see if there's any opposition or if we just want to refer to the definition in the ordinance.
Just for clarification, the black on either the printed out or the one pager is what was there already.
Correct.
Anything in red would be an addition.
So are you referring to our ordinances when you say go through line by line?
I'm sorry, no, the private club definition.
Sure.
Just refresh our, I don't know, but it would be printed off. So we have.
Private club means facility used by an organization that limits its membership. That's the first part, of limited membership. And is organized for recreational, fraternal, social, patriotic, political, benevolent, or athletic purpose.
I'm having Terry corrected, so.
So when it says limits its membership, it has to limit its membership to one of those, what were those, were there 5 terms there?
Just limited membership. So somehow you have to be a member, not anybody can just
Okay,
go in,
okay.
whatever. So they have to have some kind of membership requirements. And then the second part, that would be the purpose that it's organized.
Terry should be printing that.
Unlimited. Limited membership, that number could technically be any number. As long as you have a membership, then we're not limiting a number.
There's
Right now.
There's no size.
There's no size requirement, right?
You need a membership for Costco.
Or a Y or a 4-H membership. Yeah.
That's an issue. Why are we not just striking that? Well, why are we not just getting rid of private clubs?
Well, I think it gives an opportunity for like a 4-H probably,
Yeah,
or, you know what I mean, for those clubs to meet. I don't want to say that they can't meet on shoreline. It's already in there, right? My thought was if we just put the definition alongside private club. Yeah. You know, so people can refer, you know, it's gotta fall in one of those, within one of those. What's the board's thoughts? It's pretty vague when it's sitting in there right now. It just says private
I will
club,
put the
right?
definition.
Clarify it at least.
Right.
You need a motion for every one of these.
I was just gonna ask, or do we,
Is there anything else in that number one? Do you have a line item? by
We can-
line item?
You know, if the direction is to approve, I mean, if we're gonna approve something today, we can approve it with these changes.
I think if we're gonna approve special exceptions, we just change everything within special exceptions. We do want approval, right?
As amended.
If you have any thoughts on, just adding the definition.
Well,
of striking?
it's fine if that's, what- you know, I know last time when we had a meeting, I had it crossed off that we're getting rid of dinner clubs and other private clubs. That's fine as long as the definition's there.
Oh, they emailed it to Gary. I'm looking at like 6, 7 copies. Is there anything else in number one?
Did we ever come to a conclusion on the difference between restaurant, dinner club, and tavern? Is there a need for all three?
Restaurant is more broad, dinner club is specific. I can't imagine somebody coming to the board and saying, hey, I want to put a supper club here, and they say, well, that's not a restaurant. And I just don't see that happening. So I don't know.
I don't know that there's a need for change either. That's the way it was in the past, right?
What, my personal opinion, I wouldn't be opposed to striking dinner club out of there. I think that leaves a lot open for interpretation in the future if somebody comes. If, you know, like Dave said, it restaurant falls under restaurant, whether it's supper club, eatery, or whatnot, but you leave dinner club open, what does that? What, in the future, what does somebody want to use that definition for?
Is there consensus on that?
I mean, what do you feel? I mean, when I hear dinner club, I hear sit down. Like it's fancy, like it's a, you know, when I hear restaurant, I hear you know, alcohol, you like a village kitchen.
But that was still, yeah,
You get what I mean?
yeah, but I
And
think,
so is there a thing with alcohol, restaurant? There, you know what I mean? Can you sell? Is there a like, because that's another thing you have to look at. So, you know,
Yeah.
you have to look if restaurant allows you to sell alcohol. If dinner
And it-
club does.
and they do. 'cause
Well, they
there's-
need a liquor license.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah,
that's-
but I mean-
that's- I think dinner clubs would fall under either a tavern or a restaurant. I think it's all encompassing. And when we looked at what a dinner club was online, it was,
what everybody calls it.
yeah.
I have no
Yeah,
idea why
separate,
it's-
So there, yeah, it kind of said restaurant, et cetera, so.
Or you can leave it, it doesn't. I don't know that it's confusing anybody, I don't know that anybody's really, that's an issue.
Thoughts on that one?
Can go either way. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
If it's there, it can stay there.
I think if it's there, then
Let it there.
we'll leave it there. That's fine.
So on number one, we're only, as of right now, adding the definition.
And we're good with consensus, or do we need a motion, like item by item?
I think we'll just do a motion on the whole special exceptions once we go through it. So private clubs will add the definition to that. Number two, short-term, it was short-term rental units. Now we're calling it short-term residential rental units. I'm assuming that is somebody taking their house and Airbnb-ing it. If I'm correct. My only question in that one is what's the definition of short term? Or does that not matter in the rental?
I mean, either they're going to be doing it like a weekend or a month, or it's gonna be a full residential lease type of agreement, right? So you turn your whatever property into a rental property, no longer living there at all. But I don't know that there's a necessarily need.
So two are good with adding residential.
I would say because there's a lot more people in the Airbnb and all that kind of stuff. Number 7, there was a request to add duplexes to the special exemptions.
Yep, that was one of the petitions. to add to-
Thought on duplexes.
This would still, go ahead, Kim.
And I think that it kind of explains a little more. I mean, we could duplex them.
And this would still have to meet the height requirements. I mean, something you
Yes.
think of height, so there's all that criteria that's still in there.
Yep, that's that has a definition of. Thank you, of the private clubs.
They fine with adding duplexes to the special exemption. Number 8, storage units.
Can we go back one more time here? I just want to be clear on the duplex. I know. I mean, we went from multifamily and I get that we don't want 8 plexes, right? I mean, that's the point of what we're trying to get away from. But what are you doing with the retirement people that come in and they put up a 4-plex that looks like a duplex, but it's a duplex, 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 duplex. You look all over, that's what's being built for retirement housing. So that we just limit it, when you say duplex, that you're not allowed to put up that.
What's the definition of this?
You know, it'd be essentially 2 family, whether it's side by side or one over the other.
So can we add that definition, or do you have a definition?
I can add a statutory definition to it.
Duplexes are old school thought process. That people aren't doing duplexes as much as they're putting up by Northbrook, go around the corner right by the golf course. It looks like a duplex, but it's actually a 4-plex. There's 4 people, 4 different living quarters in there, garage, 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 garage.
Isn't that what's over, isn't that a 4-plex over by, the old bar when you take tea all the way down against the water? Isn't that all 4-plexes?
It could be. I just don't wanna, you
It's a
know,
retirement area.
people that wanna live on the water are people that have money and are going to want to retire there or have a vacation home there. A duplex was a duplex back in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Now people aren't building duplexes per se anymore. So I just, because that's gonna come up, somebody's gonna come in and say, well, I don't want to build a duplex, I want to build.
Are they called 4-plexes, Tim? Or is there a definition? for
No, I
those
don't
or
know
not?
if, I understand we don't want the 8-plexes,
Right,
just 2 duplexes that are side by side and meet in the middle.
right.
That question will come up. Somebody's gonna want to put one up. Because when they're sticking the money into duplex, it's much more reasonable to put up a 4-plex. You know, you're sharing the walls, you're doing everything, and you're getting 4 apartments in it versus 2.
I'm,
They would have to come back and request it, right? Then, because right now duplex is what was asked for.
Yes.
And that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, so that was kind of what we talked about before you
One
before we got here
Okay.
was, since the request was just for duplexes, rather than trying to figure out in the future what would most appropriately be the type of structure that we want, absent a request for some type of structure.
Okay.
That you could just go with what was requested. Added or
That's
not
fine.
deal with all multi.
Okay.
But proactively do that.
Can you put duplexes with like parentheses on the sides of it?
The
Like a
size restrictions
definition,
would be
like
Just add it.
or add a definition?
can define duplexes. I haven't seen anything in any definition that says that it's more than two distinct units with two families. So, or two distinct living sections. So four would not be a duplex by anything I've seen. It might not be what people are building right now, but that doesn't change the definitions.
What Tim's describing that different names.
Right, it would.
So could you put duplex slash fourplex? You're only going from a 2 to a 4.
We're just trying to avoid, I think, the stacking of it, correct? I mean, I
Right.
think that's
Right.
what you're trying to do.
And I don't know if the height would even allow that to occur.
35, right?
Within the, it would just be like a normal house.
But we also gotta think about future growth. I mean, is this the best use for our shoreline properties to start putting up fourplexes all over the place too? If you live in it, are these gonna turn into rental houses in the future then? That's the way I'm looking at it too.
I look at it that place, which Tim is right, it's an older people that retired and they have money. And it's right off the old bar, off the T, and it's a big subdivision and it's beautiful. All older people, they got the money. And I wanna say it's a fourplex. It's got like, it's a big house divided with the garages.
I'm not opposed to adding it in either, to whatever the board's thoughts are.
And they keep it up. It's really nice, a nice area.
What decision?
Thoughts on that one?
I mean, I'm kind of agreeing with you, I think, with how much do we want to allow, right? It's part of the reason for the whole rule is protecting both the quality, the aesthetic, the pollution potential. And the more that you allow, the more that comes at greater risk. So at some point, this ordinance is designed to limit. I think duplexes, even if that's not what is being built now, I mean, because there's nothing that prevents anyone from putting in another petition for commercial large building tomorrow, right? Whether the board takes it or not, I mean, that petition process is always there.
Right.
I'd be more in favor of duplexes than but you can address in the future if it comes
Yeah, we
forward.
could always. That, I guess this is all that.
When it's allowed to go through the full county board too.
If it were to happen, does it come back to us to amend or? If we approve, if we go through this exercise today, approve what we feel is ready to go to print, then it goes to county board. County board, let's say we just leave it as duplexes. County board has all kinds of heartburn for that. Who amends that? Does that get amended at the county board and can move?
If there's a motion and second, if it goes through the process of amending it on the floor, they could do that. And it could get passed right there, or they could refer it back to committee and say, no, we don't like what's here, work on it. Vote down. Yeah, there's a few possibilities there.
We have we'd have to have a public hearing too between first and second reading. So then you'd have more public. And the county board could say, no, we just want to stick with our. There's multiple different things they can.
Yep.
It's fine there. I was just trying to be proactive, right? I know duplexes are a dated title. It's fine. It'd be-
Okay, I think we're in consensus, and let's, Steve, if we could add a definition possibly, or pull up the definition, let's just add it in. Yeah. Then that brings us on to number 8, storage units, storage facilities on the shoreline.
Did you take out number 9, the business shop?
I did, we didn't have, but it's still on the table. It's not something to decide on, but, we already have shops defined on the shoreline. I don't know how exactly the requester wants to differentiate business shop from other shops that are already permitted. I did talk to him, and it sounds like that was something that was sort of integrated into the storage facility. I was having part of that storage facility used as a business shop. So ultimately, I think the storage facility was what the shop. I didn't try to define it pretty wide open anyhow, so.
I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure, so it's all encompassing in number 8. That you can add, you can not add, you can change, you can.
We can ask him, but based on the conversation, it sounds like if the storage facility is not going to work, then business shop is not. Have that right?
I don't, from what I've heard, well, I don't want to talk right now.
We'll open it up, yes. Okay.
And originally I was wanting to put a shop there for my construction company. But from what I've heard from the board, it doesn't seem like you want either of them, so it's not like doesn't seem like this is gonna go anywhere anyway.
Thank you.
Again, by what I said about duplexes. I can't say that about duplexes and then rescind that on the business side of things. So if it's gonna be an ordinance to limit and protect, then I think by putting a storage unit or more businesses there, we're incurring greater risk for like pollution, I guess you would say, or, just it could be more than pollution, but I would stand by that. That's what's there. And then just a point of clarification, if a village or whatever it would be, Dykesville, for example, were to annex or whatever the process is, this area, then this ordinance would no longer apply, right? The city of Algoma.
Yeah,
or
so
city
they
of
become
Kewaunee.
correct. It does not pertain to the city of Algoma or the city of Kewaunee. It does pertain to Dykesville. And, the one thinking about special exemptions, don't just think about Dykesville, but think about the whole entire lakeshore of Lake Michigan and then the rest of the lakeshore on the bay. Minus the 2 cities. That is what the shoreline protection ordinance.
And inner bodies of water, right? 2 would be the same. So like if you got a small lake. Shades or that's the
Correct.
same, right?
This is. Yes, so this is the 1,000 feet from a lake or 300 feet from the Navajo.
Did we have this in it prior?
No. it's-
Okay.
The petition is asking to add this to the special exception.
In red was not in our current. Or. The red. Not allowed.
I don't, I'm fine with you guys setting, I would agree with you.
There.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a full straight or will not add. Is there anything else in those 7 areas that any board members feels that we should address today before we take action on?
Is number, go ahead.
Number 3, I was gonna ask about again. What are we doing with that? Not sure what that even means. I'm not sure what it covers. I know we had it crossed off last meeting, at least I crossed it off, now it's back here.
Institutions of educational nature, well, I didn't.
I think we had the discussion that it was very open and vague. The educational nature could fall under the private clubs, like 4-H and you don't know why or anything like that. I think that was our discussion for the last.
I was reading that and I went on to see the website. I would have absolutely no idea what that would even cover.
There's questions on that one in the last meeting, and then there's also questions on number 4, if you wanted to keep the customarily found in recreational areas. That's hard to determine what's customarily found. Those are 2 things that you had on the last one, and then I think there was something about places of worship, if you're trying about the tax base. Those were all comments on the last LCC meeting that you guys brought up.
I don't know if it is exactly what was intended, but we do have. A preserve area or something of 40 acres, 20 acres, whatever that's dedicated to preservation, whatever. And oftentimes they'll have some kind of structure there that you can have restrooms, but you can also walk around inside. Have information about property, the history, the wildlife,
Land
whatever's there.
conservancy
So-
is what.
Right. So I don't know how philanthropic that is, but educational, I think would fall into that. I guess that when I saw the educational one, that was what.
And number 1 wouldn't cover that example, right? Because it wouldn't necessarily require the private membership.
Right, land conservancies, we would have. I think of the ones like Manitowoc, there is an educational seminar or educational building. You can come from 8 to 12 or 8 to 4, walk the corridor. It's on the lake shore, but that's how that one runs.
Is that something, I don't know if anybody's been to like Maribel Caves, but it's probably pretty close to the
Yeah.
river. And then they have like a building there with bathrooms, and then there's like informational stuff, and then there's like where you can have a picnic building.
Is that on park though?
I don't know if it's down.
The campground.
No, Devil.
Oh, that's
River is
Devil's
like a
River next to
campground.
it. You're right. Maribel Caves is out.
Is-
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that's something that if Explain that a little bit.
I haven't done it, but I'm sure that there's a way that we could go back through and look at any special exceptions that we applied for under that section. Try and see what it's been used for in the past.
My knowledge, it has not been used. It's whether you want to open it up to some. That's up to you.
I have an example of this. So down by Red River, they tried building that concession stands for the baseball diamonds. There's conflicting problems. Kewaunee County and Red River, you guys said you couldn't do it. And then Town of Red River said they can do it. This is a good example of why that should be in there. Because they wanted to build a concession stand for the baseball diamond. And it's actually in there, so it worked out. Just an example.
That might hit both of them, educational and the sports part of it. And philanthropic is they're raising money for that part.
Leave it there.
Yeah,
Leave it there.
I'm not opposed to leaving it there. I mean, you have the bay there. If somebody wants to build some type of conservancy someday to study the water or whatnot. Like you said, Door County has those 40-acre sites up there.
I could see those falling within the river setback potentially,
Right.
on a conservancy scenario.
So we'll leave number 3 there, and then the other question was the customarily found in recreational areas. So do we leave gift shops and specialty shops and then strike customarily found in rec areas?
I just know that was a question that you brought up.
It's not clear, but I don't know if it's,
Are they saying like, as you were just saying, in the recreational areas? It's kind of saying if they were to put something up there, like by baseball diamond, that's covered.
Well, I think that as far as gift shops and specialty shops goes, I think it found in recreational areas gives it some limitation and allows decision maker down the road to say, okay, this is something that we think fits or doesn't fit or whatever. So, ice cream shop might be the specialty shop in recreation area, or something like that, which might fall into the restaurants, but people selling. I don't think we have a lot of surfers, but surfboards or kayaks. So, or jewelry, that's some of the, along with the Door County shoreline, there's no shortage of. I guess the more you can limit it, but the fewer options you have. Successful somewhere else.
I would agree with that.
if someone wanted to put up an ice cream shop, just as an example, it would have to be applied for through some type of
Yes.
permit process.
Yep,
and it
they would have
fall
to-
under its-
Yep, they would have to get a special exemption permit through our office.
And you could make a decision
Yes.
if it was outside of what we thought would fall under number 4.
Correct. I would probably go right to Dave and say, hey, do you think this is part of the recreation? If it wasn't something like, like the technical or the shops that you would see up in the arts and that, if it was something completely different.
Well, so then the townships have the right to
Yes.
overrule
So
it.
they do have to have a township and a county permit. There's 2 permits that they have.
It doesn't fit into one township because it fit into Door County. It doesn't mean that they can't be like, oh, that's not really what in this area.
So is there any other words or definitions in here that we have concern with? Or are we ready for a motion?
I'll just read what you guys have changed. So as amended, you have in number 1, you have the definition as provided by Corp Council for private clubs. Number 2, you have the addition of the word residential. 3 is left, 3, 4, 5, and 6 unchanged. 7, we're adding duplexes with the definition that Park Council will give. And then we're striking number 8. That is what I have taken as notes.
There's no other.
So since that was, those numbers were never there, self-service storage, shop, duplexes were never there. So you could do a vote on whether to approve or deny the petition for those specific things. And then ask that this be forwarded to the board with the conclusions that you voted on already and whatever other changes you're making to that section.
You need 2 motions.
Well, I would vote on what you want to do with these separate requests.
7 and 8.
The petition.
Yeah, as a separate thing.
Leave a motion on the original petitions to accept or deny. Do we take each one into number 7 individually and number 8, or can we word it in the
You can
same
do it as a
motion?
slate. All in one,
Accept one and
just-
deny the other.
Right.
So we'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept number 7 as duplexes and to strike out number 8 on the petitioner's request for the ordinance.
We have a motion on the floor by Nick.
So just to clarify, so it would be to add duplexes to the special exceptions. And then the self-service storage facilities and business shops be added or not added?
Not added.
Okay,
Are we doing 2 motions? The first one is
Yeah, should we,
the petitioner, and then we'll do another motion to add it in special exception. So the first one,
right, but the request is to add as a special exception in the first place, so that you could do a motion for all 3. And then go back and do a motion to approve the special exceptions. that you
okay,
have. Does that make sense?
yeah,
The first motion is for the petitioner's original one. So we have a motion on the table. Do you want to
Well,
repeat that?
I interrupted before you had a second, so.
should we amend that motion here? And that probably would be more reflective of prior to this one pager where we had 7, 8, and 9, correct?
yeah.
Referring to them by number without some other document, I think is going to make it more confusing, so I would just refer to them by the terms that were used by the.
In the original.
Yes.
Do I have to add amended? How would I write that in the notes?
Because we don't have duplexes and divisions.
Okay, so the motion, on the table is to add duplexes, the special exception, and,
Inter-
oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
just because I think it's for, so we would be adding duplexes in the place of multifamily housing.
Multifamily housing was never in it.
What was in the?
It was
in the
It's
petition?
in the printed.
Oh. Okay, yes, right.
So number 7 would be changing multifamily housing to just be duplexes. If I'm looking at that correctly. And storage units and business shops number, just not to use the numbers, but
Yeah.
that was listed individually on the original draft. Those would be struck from, or not accepted. Special exemption.
Okay, so I have the motion to add duplexes instead of the multifamily housing, special exceptions. And storage units and business shops will not be accepted. Is that correct? I'm just trying to make sure.
Motion on the table. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Second, is there any further discussion on the motion? Second. If hearing none, I'll put that to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye on the motion.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Now we'll ask for a motion to add special exceptions that we can take to account for.
Yeah, so we've done a couple of things to amend special exceptions. You've added duplexes with the definition to be provided, which would be, I can add a definition. If the board doesn't like it, change it. If he does like it.
So it was defined, so the motion to go to the county board under special exceptions would be to define the private clubs, to add residential to rental units, and to add duplexes with the definition provided by court counsel. Okay.
So we'll look for a motion. Add a definition of private clubs, add the word residential. And add duplexes with definition applied by court counsel. I'll need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Tim. Second by Kim. Any discussion on that motion? If hearing none, we'll put that to vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Now, do we need a motion to send the ordinance to county board for first
Probably
reading?
been done.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to approve this. I can add that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to help me with you.
Yeah, we can sort out the language, but essentially, we're just.
Motion to approve the amended 1/22/25 shoreline. 16 to county board.
Yep, Archie, yep, go ahead.
Davina, was there anything left that the DNR had challenges or heartburn that we haven't addressed?
Nope, so the only other thing was, as we discussed, was the overlapping districts. So if in the event that land falls within multiple districts regulated by this ordinance, the regulations of the most restricted district shall occur. And then that was really it. Other than that, it just brought it up to state standard. Nothing that would have changed. Like, no dramatic changes, they were.
And that can simply be in the draft format, as we would.
It would still be, yeah,
That can be added those changes occurred and don't need a specific motion, right?
correct.
I would make a motion to move the chapter 16 draft 1/22/25 ordinance onto the county board for reading.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Anything else on that? The big crowd of those numbers. And you'll help me move it to county board. We'll have to do probably do do we do the hearing before the first county board or the second?
We can, well, it'll get on the agenda.
For the
Check
first
that.
reading.
I'll take a look at the statute.
Okay.
And let's.
So the LCC will need to be asked for public hearing, which I tried to, like the other ordinance that we did, we had it right before, like the hour before the county board. Have that date. So we'll work on that, whether it's February. Yeah,
Second reading.
that'd be the second reading.
We'll move on to other matters to discuss. Is there any conservation updates? from anybody in the group. I don't have.
Peninsula Pride Farms will be hosting their annual events. Forgive me, I don't have the date in front of me. I think it could be the 3rd. You could reference the webpage for that date, but that'll be before our next, land and water.
And that's held at the rendezvous this year, right?
That is correct. Yep. And is open to the public.
Anything else, conservation updates, we'll move on to scheduling future meetings.
The second Tuesday would be February 11th. You wanted to go with that?
I-
We could do the 4th. We do need to have a February meeting because of wildlife damage. I'm wide open in February, so whatever would work best for you. Do the 4th, we could do the 25th, they're both Tuesdays. Fourth,
Let's do the, we'll put down the 4th. That's on Monday.
I would move it, yet doesn't matter to me, I'm wide open.
Does the 10th work for you, Kim? That space is this, I guess that space is a little bit. So let's do February 10th, Monday, February 10th, 8:15 a.m.
I don't know if we'll need a March meeting if you have to do the open public hearing. Do we know when the county board meeting is in March? I have a feeling it's in fall. I'm on vacation. Well, I'm on vacation that day, but still I'll have taller, so it's really pretty. Dave, you'll be there to be able to help.
That'll be the public hearing,
Public hearing.
because the first reading will be here in February. That February county board meeting. So, any other discussion today? Board members have anything they want to bring up? Wrap up. I don't have anything for today. With that, we'll move on to a motion for adjournment.
I'll second.
Motion by Kim, second by Nick. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Adjourned at 9:17.